Welcome to part 2 of the cage trap video. In this one we're going to go over how to set the different generic styles of a cage trap. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, and I'm going to show you some accessories that you may be interested in. With that, I'm going to start with basically it's going to be 99% of your cage traps. Ours are from Tomahawk again, so if you buy one from a different company, it might be a bit different, but the principle will be exactly the same in how you set it. Other than that, we'll start with that one, then I'll move to box trap, where it latches a little bit differently, and then on to a Comstock trap, which is a swing panel trap, to show you how the swing panels generically are set. With that, I'll move to the cage trap. So here's a cage trap. It's the 608 SS from Tomahawk. As you see, it's a pan style. Most of your pan style cage traps are going to set this way. So basically there's on this one, there's a lock here, so you'll have to make sure that's up. On some there won't be that, so just check for it. So basically you're going to take your front panel of your door, and you push it back with that lock up, and you lift the door up. So right about where my finger is, there's a little bit of a gold roller, and lined up with it there is a pin. Let's see if I can get that a little closer. So I don't know if you can see it. There's your gold pin, and right here that's your hook. So you want to lift this up, for that hook is behind the gold pin, and then using your finger you're just going to push that in front of the gold pin, and then it's going to be sitting there. And that's basically how easy it is to set this cage trap. So this is the Tomahawk Durapoly plastic catch trap. The large and small both set the same. So on this one, it's a tad bit different. You'll see here there's a little bar that wiggles back and forth. That's connected to your pan. So instead of having a hook, it's this whole bar. And what happens is this piece here will lock underneath this tab. So when you open it up, this is your lock, so you pull it up, you push your bar back just like the cage trap, lift it up, and you're going to use the little lever. This is connected to the pan and that bar, and you're just going to pull it back for that bar goes forward, lift your door, then push it towards the front of the trap, and then it's going to be locked onto that tab. So this is the Comstock, a swing panel type door. You'll see here in a second, there's usually on one side there's a cutout on Comstocks. Not all of the traps have this, but it makes it a little bit easier. So you'll lift your door like normal. However, on the door there's a little hook that you'll find on the Comstocks. It might be a hook, it might be just a bent piece of wire, depends on the style of trap, but most of them work the same. So your door gets hooked onto this panel, sorry, not panel, this rod that runs the length back to this cross member. So what happens is there will be this panel will hook onto the door when the door is up, and it will feed back, and on here there's that swing panel. I don't know if you can see it very well where you are. I'll try to reorganize this here a bit. You can see the wires, this swing panel here, you can see the wire going out in the trap, looping. Well, this bar on top comes back and sits on that swing panel. So when the animal pushes through, it releases this bar and allows this rod to rotate, releasing the trap door at the end here. So basically that's how they work. They're a little bit finickier to set. It's kind of hard to do it on the video when I'm by myself here. But if anybody has questions regarding a swing panel, feel free to phone and I can give you some help there. The first tip when setting a cage trap, if you're placing bait inside a cage trap, always have it behind the pan. You can dribble, if it's a palatable bait, you can dribble a bit of it in front of the pan, but not a lot. Your goal is to get them behind that pan. What you can do actually is set a bit of it underneath the pan, so long as it still lets the pan depress and fire off the trap. They do sell lures for animals as well. A lot of these lures, when you're cage trapping, just for most people I don't think realize is non-palatable. A lot of them. If you don't know, just treat it as non-palatable as well. So it's a nice smell, but may not taste good. So that, like I said, the idea is to get them behind that pan or behind the swing panel to activate the trap. A lot of times I'll actually set the bait underneath the pan, the lure, and I'll put the bait at the back of the trap. That way they're actually fiddling with the pan, trying to work it. If a swing panel is more of a walk-through thing, so you can't really, it's a little bit harder to do that. The next tip is when you're setting a trap, make sure you're on the as level as you can be, potentially, with the ground. Sometimes you're going to be setting on hills, so it will be like this, but you want that ground to be smooth and level underneath the trap with the trap type thing. It's better if it is flat, but that's just the potential. You can't always do that. You can't always have that opportunity. The next thing is make sure wherever you're setting it, where it's flat, that it's stable. So you don't, if you push on this corner, you don't want it to rock back and forth. Like, you gotta remember these animals are going in it, and all this extra movement, if they're walking in it and it starts moving on them, they're not gonna like it. So you want it as stable as possible. You can, you need to go as far as pinning it to the ground a bit, but in most cases you don't have to do that. The next tip is about sizes of traps. So with a squirrel, you don't want a trap this big. You want a trap that's going to be basically like 4x4 by 20. If you catch a squirrel in this trap, it'll run back and forth, and actually do damage to itself, if not basically kill itself, because it's bouncing off every side of the cage, getting worked up, especially more susceptible to in the heat. When it does get hot, it brings us to the next thing, is make sure you are checking them a higher frequency, and you are trying to get them in the shade if possible. We find cats and rabbits and birds are the most susceptible to heat versus some other animals. Just keep that in mind. But back to the cage size as well. Generally a 7x7 will fit a groundhog. 4x4 or smaller for squirrels. Then you're going to get into a 9x9, for instance. That's the box trap. That's the size of it. It'll start holding a raccoon, where you go up in size to about a 12x12 for a raccoon size animal. When you get beyond that, you're talking about your canine domestic dogs, those type of traps, beavers. So just use some common sense when you're picking a size of your trap to what you're trying to catch. The next tip would be a walkthrough versus a walkthrough trap. Basically, one has 2 doors versus a single door trap. If you're just blind setting a trap on the ground in somebody's yard, close to where you know the animal problem is, but you don't know exactly where the animal's coming or going from, A single door will work fine. A double door will work fine. Is positive setting. So, for instance, this is a 7x7 trap. You can catch groundhogs in it. As you know, groundhogs live in the ground and have a burrow. So, for instance, if the burrow is right here, you can set this trap right up to the right up to the burrow. Sorry. And for instance, this is what we call a nose cone. If you watch a previous video, you'll see a trap that has this built right on. This is an accessory. If you already own traps, you can buy this additionally. But basically what it does is it slides over the end of your trap, and what you're going to do is you're basically going to fence off that hole that they've created for their burrow. And what that's going to do is going to help when they come out of the burrow, which they have to do to feed and drink and so forth, they'll be directed through the trap. So it just makes your success rate a little bit higher potentially. It won't always work, but it significantly increases your success rate. Like I said, there are traps that have these built on. This is a foldable one. They are on our site. They come in different sizes depending on your trap you're trying to use it with. The nice thing about these ones are don't need that added extension on there, so I can fit, if you're a company, you can fit more traps in your truck if you need that, and you can store these in a second little part because they're going to take up a lot less room. And then if you ever do need it, you do have them. Additionally, you can still utilize this method by using these with your older traps that don't potentially have that nose cone. So that's one of the accessories that I wanted to go over. The next one is always plan for the unexpected. So if you set this trap out for a groundhog and you catch a skunk, be prepared to catch a skunk. This brings us to another accessory. I'm just going to run and grab it. So that brings us to another accessory, like I was saying. This is a cage trap cover. All it is 3 panels, basically, well, 4 panels with a small one here. It's going to fit over top of your trap, like this. These covers are pretty trap specific. Tomahawk, the ones that we sell anyway, they kind of have different handle placements depending on your trap and stuff, and they are all cut out for those handles. So we carry some of them, but not all of them. So some of them we would have to order in if you're on our site. The benefit of this is now is the fact that if I catch a skunk, he's gonna have a hard time seeing me, and when the animals have a hard time seeing out, they're a lot calmer. I could go over and pick this trap up with a skunk in it and carry it to wherever I'm gonna go, with a very little chance of it spraying. So that's something that we recommend. It also keeps them out of the public's view, so you're gonna have less people kind of snooping around to see if there's an animal in there, to look at the animal and stuff, because just simply they can't see it. That's one nice thing about this trap, and that's why we recommend it to so many people, is you don't need a cover with this trap. It's opaque, they can't see out, and it just helps, especially homeowners when it comes to skunks and stuff. I've caught probably 200 or 300 skunks in this, and I've never had one spray inside this trap. There is still an odor with them, so you have to remember that. If they've sprayed in the past week, that potentially still on them, so they might still smell. It doesn't mean they sprayed, it just means that they've sprayed recently, and potentially you'll know if they do spray. And they can do both a mist and a stream. They kind of happen at the same time, so just because they spray inside enclosed trap doesn't mean it can't kind of leak out and potentially contaminate other areas. Just remember that. This will help with that, but it's not 100% here. There's holes and stuff. But like I said, I could go over to skunk, pick this up, be gentle with it, don't shake it, and move it. So our next tip would do to deal with targeting your animal. You've probably seen these on our site. This is a Alberton raccoon cone or door. Sorry. These are specifically for targeting raccoons. So what happens is raccoon comes up, pulls this down, and goes in. Skunks and cats and other animals will basically claw at the front here at the bottom. They don't know enough to play with it and open this. So you can attach these basically onto a trap, and you're going to severely limit your non-target catches that aren't raccoons. So your skunks, cats, birds, squirrels, groundhogs. It's not 100%, like there is a chance of a cat coming up and getting that open, but it's significantly reduced. So if you're in an area that has a lot of cats or other animals that you're not targeting, something like this might work with you if you are trying to catch the raccoons. So that's the next step is basically when you're setting cage traps, always try to use things that target your animal, whether that's reducing the size of the hole that you're allowing in, to using something like this kind of accessory. You can also change up your lures. Certain animals have an affinity for certain lures. You can buy animal-specific lures. It's not saying that they won't catch something else, but it's just more attractive to that animal. So that's your fifth and final tip there. That's 5 decent things. If you pay attention to those things, that you're going to have success. It's never perfect. You're not going to set a trap out and expect to catch it that night. There's a good chance you might, but there's always other variables. Maybe they're not there that night, so forth. So don't discourage if you go a couple nights without catching an animal. Even companies who do this on a day-to-day basis still have animals that they can't catch or trap shy. So just remember that. Don't lose your hope of catching that animal and dealing with it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Next week I'm going to go over the use of boxes within traps. After the coral video there, I had a couple people asking me about the box, and I said I'd do a video. I'll just grab it here and I'll show you real quick. So basically this is our box. Now I'll go over this next week. So if you want to see that video, come subscribe to our channel there, and like this video. It always helps. We also have a Facebook page, and our store website's wcscanadastore.com. So if you need anything wildlife control related, head over there, and thanks for watching.